So I want you to imagine it is the dead of winter in 1833.
Okay, setting the scene. I like it.
Yeah, and the temperature outside is well below freezing, just bitterly cold. Yet, if you are following the absolute rules of household management for your era, you are instructing your servants to throw the windows of your husband's study wide open.
Right, just letting all that freezing air in for
Yeah,
half an hour.
exactly half an hour. And while that icy wind is just blasting into the room, you have them build a roaring, massive fire in the hearth.
Which, I mean, sounds completely counterproductive to us
It
today.
sounds like absolute madness, but to the 19th century mind, this wasn't crazy. This was a highly calculated, medically necessary procedure.
Yeah, they were trying to burn away invisible, harmful emanations that were supposedly pooling in the corners of the room.
Right. And welcome to the deep dive, everyone. Today, we are stepping into a world where maintaining your home wasn't just about, sweeping the floors.
No, not at all. It was this high stakes, highly rigid, and honestly, occasionally bizarre system of absolute control.
It really is a fascinating psychological landscape to explore because in this era, an improperly placed teacup or a poorly ventilated room wasn't just a minor domestic slip up.
No, it was quite literally seen as a moral failing, and potentially a fatal one.
Exactly. And to understand how people navigated this, we are pulling our insights from a genuinely incredible piece of source material today.
It's such a great find.
It really is. It's an 1833 manual translated from French to Swedish titled The Handbook for Young Ladies. And it was written by the rather mysterious Countess de G with 3 asterisks.
Right, she keeps her full identity a bit of a secret.
Yeah. Now, if you just hear that title, you might assume it's, I don't know, a fluffy finishing school guide about which fork to use at a dinner party.
Sure, like basic etiquette.
But what we found inside is essentially a survival blueprint for the 19th century.
It is far from just etiquette. The Countess provides this comprehensive, unyielding architecture for domestic life.
Yeah, she does.
And you have to remember, we're looking at a time before germ theory, before modern convenience, and amidst immense social and economic volatility.
Right, the stakes were high.
Very high.
Yeah.
The household was a complex machine, and it required a very specific type of operator.
And our mission for this deep dive is to explore exactly how this handbook maps out that machinery. We're going to see how it treats household management as this strict moral philosophy.
And how it enforces incredibly specific gender spaces, too.
Oh, the gender spaces are wild. And we'll also break down some of the most peculiar, yet strangely chemically brilliant, practical life hacks of the era. So let's just jump right in.
That's good.
The Countess makes a very bold claim right out of the gate about the woman of the house. She establishes the core philosophy of this entire book by stating that the woman is the eye and soul of the house.
She does. And it is crucial to understand that she isn't offering, poetic flattery here.
Right, this isn't a compliment.
No, the Countess is laying down the fundamental law of her domestic universe. She argues that cleanliness, order, and meticulous care are the literal foundation of both the economy and the morality of the family.
Wow.
Yeah, the text insists that if every single item has an exact designated place, you never waste a single second looking for it.
Which, makes perfect sense on a practical level. If you are running a large household with multiple servants, keeping track of inventory is paramount.
Definitely.
But reading through that section, my mind immediately went to, modern systems architecture.
Oh, really? Like how?
It's like she's trying to run a highly optimized logistics network. Or a modern startup. Every spoon, every chair, every piece of linen is a node in this network.
That is a great way to put it.
She even explicitly says that this constant, unrelenting order prevents confusion and strife. But I want to push back on her reasoning here.
Okay, go for it.
If you look at the sheer intensity of these rules, is this intense focus on order actually about economics and, saving pennies? Or are we really looking at a mechanism for maintaining psychological control in a world that was just wildly unpredictable?
See, that is the essential question to ask when reading this text. And I think the handbook suggests it is deeply psychological.
Okay, how so?
Well, it's tightly intertwined with their economic reality, obviously, but the author explicitly connects idleness to moral decay.
Right, the idle hands idea.
Exactly. She writes that idleness is the mother of all evil, and that for a thinking person, constant, orderly occupation brings peace.
Interesting.
You really have to put yourself in the mindset of the 1830s. You have cholera pandemic sweeping across Europe. You have staggering infant mortality rates.
Yeah, things were grim.
Very. Economic ruin was often just one bad harvest or one business failure away.
So the outside world is basically at a chaotic threat level red at all times.
Precisely. The household, therefore, is framed as a fortress.
A fortress. I like that.
By controlling the exact placement of a chair, or dictating the precise hour a floor is washed, the lady of the house is asserting total dominance over her immediate universe.
Wow. So it is a defense mechanism against existential dread?
Exactly.
Well, if the house is a fortress, then the way she divides the living spaces is basically the internal security clearance.
Oh, the geography of the house is fascinating.
It is wildly specific,
Hmm.
especially when it comes to the gender divide. Let's look at the husband's room, because if you are setting up his sanctum according to the Countess, you have to follow a very strict checklist.
You really do.
First, it must be completely isolated from the noise and the daily operations of the rest of the house.
It is a literal map of 19th century gender dynamics.
Yeah.
The husband's space is designed purely for serious contemplation, authority, and, respite.
Right, he gets the quiet zone.
He does, and the book mandates a very specific inventory. He needs a writing desk, a commode, a table covered in green cloth, specifically dedicated to maps and books.
The green cloth is so specific.
It is, plus 2 armchairs and portraits of esteemed historical figures. It projects an outward-facing intellect.
So he is the mind interacting with the broader world, safely insulated from the actual domestic labor.
Exactly.
But the most fascinating rule for his room is what is explicitly banned.
The alcove bed.
Yes. The book firmly states that under no circumstances can his room feature an alcove bed. And the reasoning given isn't aesthetic, it's medical, which ties right back to that freezing window scenario we opened with.
It does. The ban on alcove beds is entirely rooted in the medical anxieties of the time. This was the era of miasma theory.
Right, the bad air.
Yeah, the prevailing scientific belief was that diseases were caused by miasma, basically harmful, stagnant emanations that rose from the ground or decaying matter.
So an alcove, like a bed tucked into a recess in the wall, was basically viewed as a trap for toxic, disease-ridden air.
Exactly. Without proper cross-ventilation, the 19th century mind believed an alcove would pool this miasma while the husband slept. Yeah, and that would lead to consumption or other respiratory illnesses. That is why you have this seemingly bizarre practice of opening the windows in the dead of winter while simultaneously lighting a roaring fire.
It's like they were creating a wind tunnel.
That's exactly what they were doing. The heat of the fire, combined with the cold air from the window, would create a powerful artificial draft. It would suck the stagnant, potentially deadly air up the chimney and out of the room.
Man, it wasn't about comfort at all. It was a biomechanical strategy to survive the winter.
Precisely.
It's just incredible. So the husband gets this medically biohacked, freezing cold thought chamber.
Right.
But that setup completely contrasts with the wife's room. If his room is the isolation bunker, hers is the command center of the entire operation.
Well, absolutely.
According to the manual, her room absolutely must face east or south.
Because she requires abundant, immediate morning light.
Gotta get up and go.
Exactly. The husband might be allowed respite, but the wife needs to be awake and managing the machinery of the house the moment the sun rises.
But what is truly revealing about her room are the granular details of the furnishings, particularly the bed.
Oh, the bed is a major investment.
The Countess dedicates an astonishing amount of text to this bed. It has to be a mahogany bed, which she notes for its simple elegance. But then you look at the price tag she quotes.
Which is steep.
200 to 300 Riksdaler. To put that into perspective for you, the listener, that was a staggering sum of money in 1833.
It really was.
That could equal the annual wages of several of the servants she employs. So right away, this whole frugal philosophy is actually resting on a foundation of extreme wealth.
Definitely. It's a very specific class of people reading this.
Right. But the detail that really threw me was the drapery. The bed must have sky blue curtains. And it's not for the decor.
No. The manual provides a highly specific pseudoscientific explanation for the color.
Naturally.
The sky blue curtains are strictly required to soften the morning light. The idea is to prevent the harsh rays of the sun from retarding the optic nerves when she wakes up.
I have to admit, I had no idea my optic nerves were at such risk from the morning sun.
It's a very real fear for them.
I mean, we use blackout curtains today to get better sleep, but this is a genuine medical paranoia. They actually believed that unfiltered morning light would physically degrade the nervous system of the eye.
It reflects the broader fragility they felt regarding the human body.
That makes sense.
The nervous system was viewed as something that could be easily shocked or permanently damaged by environmental factors. So the blue curtains act as a literal filter.
A protective barrier.
Yeah, so she can wake up safely and immediately begin her duties.
And those duties start the second her optic nerves are secure, because she has to manage the staff.
And that is a full-time job in itself.
If you are reading this manual, you are essentially getting a masterclass in 19th century human resources. And the hiring guidelines the Countess lays out are rigidly defined.
Very rigid.
You aren't just looking for someone with good references. You are screening them through highly specific physical and demographic filters.
The manual leaves absolutely nothing to chance. For example, if you are hiring a cook, the text states she must be a woman between 35 and 40 years old.
Which is a pretty narrow window.
It is. But the crucial qualification is that she must possess a cheerful face.
Which seems like a terrible metric for culinary skills.
It really does.
I mean, you could have a cheerful face and burn the roast every Sunday.
True. But the Countess argues that a happy face rarely hides a harsh character. It's rooted in physiognomy, right?
Oh, that pseudoscience where they believed your physical facial features directly correlated to your inner morality and temperament.
Precisely. In an era before standardized background checks, they relied on these visual heuristics to judge character.
Wow.
But the demographic rules get even more specific and strategic when it comes to the male staff.
Okay, this is hands down my favorite rule in the entire book.
It's a good one.
If you, the lady of the house, are going to hire a male domestic servant, he absolutely must be between 40 and 50 years old.
No younger.
You cannot hire a 25-year-old footman. And the Countess is very blunt about why. She says he must be past the age of passions.
It is a purely risk management decision.
Exactly. The logic is that you have young 20-something chambermaids running around the house. If you hire a young, energetic male servant, you are going to get workplace romances.
On drama.
You are going to get drama, jealousy, and potentially scandalous entanglements, and all of that disrupts the highly calibrated machinery of the household.
You can't have that.
No. So you hire a 45-year-old man who is theoretically too tired for romance, ensuring the strict order of the house remains intact.
It's brilliant in a very cynical way.
It is, but when you step back and look at all these rules together, it paints a rather intense picture. She dictates that you should never pay the servants too much, lest they become independent.
Right.
You must demand written receipts for absolutely every penny spent at the market to prevent embezzlement. They are up at 6 a.m. in the summer. Breakfast is precisely at 9 a.m. I mean, is she essentially running a 247 surveillance state?
Surveillance state is a very apt way to describe it, actually.
Really?
Yeah, the manual positions the lady of the house as a benevolent but absolute dictator. Her role is continuous, unrelenting oversight.
Sounds exhausting.
It is. The assumption built into the text is that servants, if left to their own devices, will naturally default to idleness or deceit.
Wow, zero trust.
Zero. Therefore, trust is replaced entirely by systemic verification. The receipts, the strict timetables, the demographic profiling, these are all tools of a managerial class trying to enforce order onto a labor force that lives inside their own home.
It sounds utterly exhausting for everyone involved. You're constantly watching the servants. The servants are constantly laboring under this intense scrutiny, and everyone is just trying to avoid the miasma.
It's a tense environment.
But amid all this strict discipline, frugal penny pinching, and hard labor, the book reveals these sudden flashes of bizarre, high-end convenience.
Yes, the life hacks.
And this brings us to the practical life hacks of 1833, because the way they solved logistical problems is fascinating. Let's talk about the bathwater.
Oh, the bathroom routines outlined in the manual are a perfect example of this.
They really are.
The Countess advises that someone with a delicate constitution should not bathe for more than 15 minutes, again tying back to that medical fragility.
Right, don't shock the system.
But the logistical marvel is how you acquire the hot water if you happen to live in Paris.
Right. She casually mentions that in Paris you don't have to heat your own bathwater because you can simply purchase an abonnement, like a subscription service, that delivers hot bathwater directly to your house.
It's incredible.
Imagine that. A guy just rolls a giant cart of steaming hot water up to your front door, unloads it, and leaves. It's like 19th century DoorDash, but for baths.
It is a remarkable historical detail, and it perfectly illustrates the infrastructure of a rapidly modernizing 19th century city.
But I had to pause when I read this.
Why is that?
Because the Countess has spent pages agonizing over the exact pennies spent on carrots, demanding receipts to prevent the servants from stealing, and preaching intense frugality.
Ah, I see where you're going.
How does paying a premium for a luxury hot water delivery service fit into this obsessive economy? It seems completely contradictory.
It does seem contradictory to our modern understanding of frugality. We usually think of frugality as just spending the least amount of money possible.
Exactly.
But to the 19th century mind running a large household, economy was about the most efficient allocation of resources and energy.
Okay, that makes sense.
Think about the mechanics of heating enough water for a full bath in 1833.
You'd have to haul hundreds of gallons of water from a pump, bring it to the kitchen, build a massive wood or coal fire.
Exactly. And while you are occupying the kitchen stove for half the day to heat bath water, your 35-year-old cheerful cook cannot prepare the meals.
Oh, right, it shuts down the kitchen.
It completely bottlenecks the house. You are tying up the labor of 2 or 3 servants just to haul the water up the stairs. You are drastically increasing the risk of a catastrophic house fire.
Which was a huge threat.
Massive. So, paying a small subscription fee to have the hot water delivered isn't an extravagant luxury. It is highly economical. It protects the core machinery of the kitchen from overheating and shutting down.
That is a brilliant way to look at it. It's like outsourcing your heavy computational load to a cloud server so your own hardware doesn't crash.
That's a perfect modern analogy.
You pay the subscription fee to maintain the internal order of your own systems. But of course, they couldn't outsource everything.
No, definitely not.
Maintaining the level of immaculate cleanliness the Countess demands required intense physical labor and what you rightly called 19th century chemistry.
Because they did not have access to the stabilized, mass-produced chemical detergents we have today.
Right, no spray bottles of cleaner under the sink.
To achieve the aesthetic perfection the book demands, the lady of the house and her servants essentially had to act as small-scale chemical manufacturers.
The section on cleaning the metalwork just blew my mind. To clean the gilded fire screens and the heavy iron fireplace tools, the manual instructs you to rub them with crushed glass.
Which requires someone to physically crush glass into a fine abrasive powder by hand.
That sounds dangerous.
It was. The mechanism there is that the sharp, microscopic edges of the glass powder are hard enough to shear away the Bajon carbon soot from the fire, but if ground finely enough, won't deeply gouge the heavy iron beneath.
It's incredibly labor-intensive, and it doesn't stop there. For the floors, you couldn't just buy a bottle of floor cleaner. If you had stone floors, you had to mix a highly specific compound she calls spoon water.
Right.
But the painted floors are what really highlight the labor. You had to make the paint yourself right in the kitchen.
Yes, the manual instructs boiling down Flanders glue over an open fire.
Wait, what is Flanders glue?
Flanders glue is essentially hide glue.
Mm.
It's made by boiling down the collagen from animal hides and bones.
Oh my gosh, which must have smelled horrific.
It was an incredibly pungent process.
I can't even imagine.
You take this boiling animal collagen and mix it with a pigment called rouge de Prusse, or Prussian red.
Yeah.
You are actively manufacturing industrial coatings in the same space where your meals are prepared.
Just to ensure the floors meet the Countess's standard of visual order.
Exactly. And for the kitchen's copper pots, they used blanc d'Espagne, which is a finely ground chalk or whiting. You mix it into a paste to polish the metal without wearing it thin.
But out of all these chemical compounds and labor-intensive processes, the life hack that struck me as pure, elegant genius was the trick with the tea leaves.
Oh, that's a classic one.
Because it solves a very specific mechanical problem of the era. If you are sweeping an expensive woven carpet with a dry broom, you are just launching a cloud of fine dust into the air.
Right, which then settles back down or gets inhaled.
And going back to the miasma theory, inhaled dust is exactly what they are terrified of.
Exactly. So the manual provides a brilliant alternative. After the household brews tea, you never discard the wet leaves. You save them until the next morning.
And then you take these damp, used tea leaves and sprinkle them generously all over the expensive carpets.
It sounds messy, but it works.
It does. When you sweep the carpet with the broom, the dampness of the leaves catches and binds to the dry dust. It physically traps the particulate matter so it rolls up into neat little piles instead of kicking up into the air.
And it serves a secondary chemical function, too.
Oh, really?
Yeah, the mild tannic acid naturally present in the tea leaves was believed to help revive and brighten the colored dyes of the wool fibers in the carpet.
Wow. It is the perfect encapsulation of the Countess's entire philosophy. It is extreme frugality. You are quite literally reusing garbage.
Yep.
It is medically sound for the era by preventing the inhalation of dust, and it maintains the immaculate visual order of the home.
It checks all the boxes.
Every single action, no matter how small or seemingly insignificant, is engineered with a distinct purpose.
When you look at the totality of the handbook for young ladies, you realize that the home was never intended to be a place of relaxation, at least not in the modern sense.
No, definitely not.
It was a bulwark. For the women reading this manual, executing this relentless, meticulous management of their environment was their primary and often only means of exercising power and ensuring the survival of their family.
Which brings us back to why this 1833 manual feels so strangely relevant today.
It really does.
If you look closely at everything we've unpacked, the sky blue curtains filtering out the harmful light, the 45-year-old male servant hired specifically to prevent drama, the Parisian hot water subscription outsourcing the domestic labor, and the wet tea leaves trapping the dust.
None of it was random.
None of it. It was a deliberate, almost desperate attempt to conquer chaos. And for you, the listener, while the idea of boiling animal bones in your kitchen to paint your floors or throwing your windows open in a blizzard to fight invisible miasma might seem like ancient history, think about your own daily routines.
There are a lot of parallels.
Think about the way you might use a habit tracking app, or the specific way you arrange your calendar, or that feeling of profound relief you get when you finally clear off your desk and organize your inbox.
It's the exact same impulse.
That underlying desire to conquer the messy, unpredictable chaos of life through rigid daily routines. That need to feel like you have a grip on the universe because your kitchen is clean. That is a deeply human, timeless impulse. The Countess and her handbook were operating in 1833, but the anxiety of disorder hasn't changed a bit.
It is a fundamental part of the human condition. Which leaves us with a fascinating thought experiment to ponder.
Okay, what is it?
If a historian 200 years from now were to excavate a handbook of your modern daily life, your specific productivity apps, your sleep tracking wearables, your dietary biohacks, and the way you curate your environment,
Oh boy.
what seemingly normal thing that you do every single day without a second thought would they view as an utterly bizarre, paranoid ritual of the 21st century?
I mean, I am fairly certain they're going to look at our obsession with standing desks and conclude we believe chairs were structurally toxic.
That is highly likely.
Keep questioning the routines, and until next time, thanks for joining us on The Deep Dive.